of CovInspiration with Dayo Israel. My name is Dayo Israel, and I'm here with a fantastic guest today. I'm also joined by a co-host, an amazing young lady who is blazing the trail in our generation. Before I bring you my co-host and my guest, I have this for everyone. If this is your club, say hi, everyone. If this is your club, say hi, everyone. So I have with me today as my co-host today, Miss Moremi Ojiji. Moremi, good to have you joining me tonight. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening.
Excellent. And I also we have here today as a guest on the show, the chairman of the Lagos State Sports Commission, Mr. or let me say Chief Sola Aiyepeku. Executive
Hello,
Chairman,
everybody.
good to see you. How are you doing?
Same here. Thank you very much. I'm doing well. And you played my song.
Excellent.
Nice.
I'm still going to play it. Is your hand on your chest?
I am not even breathing.
Why?
Palpitations.
Wow. It's so good to see you, Chairman. Wow.
Same here, Dayo. Moremi, good to see you. How are you doing?
Same here. Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
My first question for you, Chairman. I have been part of the league. I have watched Lagos City Marathon for about 3-4 years or so. I've been following it. Why have we never had a Nigerian win the marathon? Kilode?
Okay, I'll answer your Kilode line first. Because we don't get the lungs of the Kenyans and the other Ethiopians. Those guys run as if they don't breathe at all. They just keep running, and they've honed their skills on. They've honed their skills in long distance running because of the natural altitude their countries are located on, and that helps them a great deal. So, and then again, the lack of infrastructure has also helped because many of them, when you check their backgrounds, they've come from a background of from villages where their schools are kilometers away from their homes. So, and they don't have cars. There's poverty in those areas, and they have to run back to school and back every single day. We're talking about 12, 13 kilometers every single day, and they used to run in it. So you can imagine what that natural prep has done for them over years before they go into professional athletics.
Wow. So is a Nigerian ever going to win this in the next 10 years? Do you see that inside? Are you working towards that?
Well, I'm not working towards that in particular. But yes, to answer your question, in Nigeria, a Nigerian can win, but we have to do far more than the Kenyans or Ethiopians or those guys who are naturally endowed do. The days of a happy-go-lucky trying to strike results or gold without doing or having the adequate preparations has to be over before that can be even dreamt about. Remember some years back, maybe 20 or plus years ago, when the first marathon was held, major marathon was held in Lagos. In Nigerian won because it was the first, and subsequently the foreigners started winning it again. So yes, we can, but we have to prepare adequately and make sure we achieve the goal.
Okay, so that was just a breacher. Let me go back to where I really wanted to start from. You were you were special assistant to the chairman of this same commission. And today you are now the chairman in a space of 2 years. Did you dream this? Did you imagine this?
I never. I'm sure if you speak with Dayo, I never saw it coming. Once in a while, you hope you have a chance to make a difference, but you never see this kind of things coming. I mean, Dayo, you should know better than me. But if you ask the head of service, you know, when you see him, when he called me, I mean, the joke is still on me till today, and I'm not going to share that joke online on air because everybody start calling me by that name. But we still laugh about it till today. My shock and everything when the phone call came to serve, and it's really been a privilege and an honor.
Wow. So what was your first reaction? Tell us. We want to know. What was your first
reaction? No.
Okay, skim that.
I will share part of it. One condition. Don't say the rest. I'll just say part of it.
Okay, I will share the rest.
First of all, a call came and I was told, my brother, how are you doing? This is the HOS. I mean, he said his name, and I was like, yeah, from why? You know, I've been told to that this appointment has been given to you, and I was just in shock. I was at home, but it was as if I was alone in the whole world, and I was like, what's going on? Everywhere was swimming, and the shock was just a bit much. And I asked him a question that he still calls me till today. But really, to be called on to serve by Mr. Governor, it was really a shock. And the confidence he's reposed in me since then, the fact that we share similar visions, the fact that he backs me up in everything, all the plans we've had, he's always available. He understands what sports is and should be about. It really makes life so easy for me, and it's not easy. But I've spent the last few months acclimatizing and getting to know my environment more.
Amazing. I think, Moremi, are you there? I think the
Dayo,
chairman froze. Okay, we can hear you. Okay, Mr. Chairman, yes, fantastic. I know a lot of people want to hear about the policies and achievement. But before we get into that, Moremi, you wanna ask him any question? Okay, I think Moremi froze as well. Mr. Chairman, you rose from a banker to a sports enthusiast, a sport journalist, and a sport reporter. I think we also lost the chairman. Moremi, are you there? Okay, I think I lost both of them. Internet can be an issue in Nigeria, but I'm sure we'll overcome. Thank you, guys. I see all the numbers increasing and people who are tuning in. The chairman of the Sport Commission will be back. I think Moremi is back. Moremi, you might need to change where you are so that you can get a better signal. Yes. And then the chairman, we lost the chairman as well, but I'm sure he's going to be back on the show. And, you know, those are part of the conversations that are important to have. Okay, Olatunji Kayode says about the last questions on why Kenyan and Ethiopians winning the marathon is because of their altitude, weather, nature. It helps them to have more stamina, more so they have maintained the train more. So one of the questions I'm going to be asking, you know, following up to what Olatunji Kayode is saying is, how do we train our people too? You know, how do we get our people to have the same qualities and to be able to have the same capacity to be able to win the same competition? Yes, the weather favors them, but I'm sure that there's something. We also have people from Jos where the weather is very cold. Mr. Chairman, welcome back.
I apologize. I think I have a Wi-Fi issue, but I put it down on my hotspot. So I think that should last till the end of the show. Yeah.
Absolutely. Apologies. I think Moremi has a question for you. Moremi, go ahead.
Okay. One thing that interests me about Mr. Sola Aiyepeku is the fact that he read chemical engineering in Unilag. I'm also an alumnus of Unilag as well. And I'm wondering how he does.
School. Great taco kites.
Yeah, taco kites. Great. So I'm wondering how come, what's up with the sudden interest in sports? You know, sports marketing and management. How did you derive that interest?
Great question. It's not so. Well, it's not sudden. I have a very long history in sports.
Okay.
What? And you see, it started from when I was a kid. Like most children, my father too loved football.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Yeah, my father loved football, and he. Okay, great. He loved football, and he was a member of Shooting Star Sports Club. Everything we needed to do in life. So on every other weekend, whenever Shooting Stars were playing at home, in the morning, early in the mornings, he'll take me to Liberty Stadium. We'll go to the clubhouse first. He'll play table tennis. I'll play around with the other children there, and then we'll be moved by bus to the stadium for the match on match day. And then after the match, we'll now meet with the with the players after the game. So from then, that love for football administration, seeing things that happened at the back end, how the operations yielded the results on the pitch, was something that fascinated me from the beginning. So I started. By 9-10 years old, I was already organizing matches in University of Ibadan for my colleagues. We were playing against Polytechnic teams and just doing all kinds of things. So the history started right from being a child, and grew on throughout my teen years, developing all kinds of tournaments, playing for teams all across Ibadan and all that, and up to secondary school, and here we are today.
So if I jump on the back of that question, if I jump on the back of that question, you went on from chemical was it chemical engineering, and then you went into banking. Yes, and then you went into banking, and then you went into sport. What's that word? You know, people who pundit. You became a sport pundit and a sport journalist.
Yeah.
Yes, and you became a sport journalist. Now, how is the experience different now as a sport administrator? You are now an administrator managing sport policies. Many things that you were talking about and you were criticizing and you were analyzing, you are now at the forefront of implementation. How is the experience like?
It's good. You know why it's good, Dayo? Because I've been on the other side. I've looked from the outside, or before coming to the inside, where the policies are established. The great thing also is, like I said when I was describing part of my childhood, is that I've been involved in organizing things all my life, creating events, organizing events, and all that. So coming to this side now, it just gives me a chance to do something from this side that will enable platforms to be established. A lot of criticism comes against government, which came from somebody came from people like me, and are still coming right now, because many of us don't know what happens inside. I had a stint at what happened inside with my good friend and brother Deji Tinubu, and then being called to come and do something about it to help make Lagos greater. It's really a privilege. So it's good for me. I have the all-round feel of what goes on, and also don't forget, I also manage a football club that played in the National League, also for about 7 years. So I've been involved. And while I was in the bank, that was when I created the Bankers Games with my partner then, fellow banker.
Wow!
So it's a good all-round feel I have. Yeah.
Okay. You know, there's always a saying that no knowledge is wasted. So if you read your beach, read so basically, how has the knowledge you acquired as a chemical engineer has impacted or shaped your career in the sports industry? Could you just share a few bits with us, a few pointers that, okay, these are the points?
Yeah, thank you. The first thing is that as a chemical engineer, I'm used to figures. I'm used to structure. Okay. I'm used to formulae. Okay. I don't forget numbers. That's a natural thing for me, and because of the desire for structure, the desire to see things work, desire to see that, look, if I put in an X plus Y formula here, it yields a certain result depending on the variables I put into it. I understand all that. So I also know that if I want to evaluate certain matters, it is easier to come to a solution when you know what the variables are. But if you don't know what the variables are, then you have a challenge. So it's up to me to ensure that the team I have around me, which I must say done, to ensure that all the variables that we need to apply are in there to get the result at the end of the day. chemical engineering really helped me for structure. But where I got the most experience that's relevant, funny enough, it was from the banking industry. Because from after finishing chemical engineering, I did only about 2 years of work, and before I entered the banking industry. I'm sorry, 5 years of work before I entered the banking industry, and
wow,
and from yeah.
Wow. Let me latch up on that
So it's always been about my
question
passion
as well. So you are done the Bankers Cup, you are done the Traders Cup. When you also were a special assistant to the chairman, you were part of the team that started the Traders Cup, the Lagos School Olympics, the relay program for schools. How have you been able to sustain them under this new administration? Now that you're in the driver's seat.
Okay, let me first correct something. The Traders Cup was not whilst I was with I was serving. It was before that. That was something that we created then. Before that, but the School Olympics and the relays, yes. Unfortunately, I mean, what we've met, and I'm sure many of my other colleagues in this government will tell you, what we've met is a semi-state of dysfunctionality. School Olympics happened only once under us, and never happened again till now. The relays never happened again after the first time. So what we are doing first is, or what we have done first is to evaluate all these events and to fit them into a plan that has 3 parts. For is about policies and platforms. So first of all, where's the enabling policy to ensure that these things can be repeated without a Sola Aiyepeku being there or an individual being there? How do we ensure that the structure works? Exactly. How do we ensure that the structure makes sure that these events always happen? Because when they happen, so many other social and economic benefits come out of it. So that's what we've been doing for the past few months. We've although the names that for example, School Olympics will not be, when that event returns, it won't be called School Olympics, but it will come back as another name, but it's the same general principle, that kind of thing. The relays will happen again. In fact, we're already planning for it to happen before the COVID breakdown pandemic struck. So what we've done is to start. We have inverted, so to speak, we've inverted our strategies. Prior to the pandemic happening, we were on the verge of releasing a lot of events, action points, and all that. But with the pandemic, I mean, as you know, sports was one of the first major casualties of the pandemic. So we had to invert our strategy. So we've gone back into things that we are hoping to do towards the end of the year into next year. We've now started doing. We've been doing them. Policy driving, capacity development, ensuring really that the foundation is set so that we can start preparing preparing for a sustainable sports industry. And that dovetails into what the governor wants. Mr. Governor, when we are going to start, he said, what's your plan what's your vision, for Lagos State sports? And he said, well, the plan should also entail the fact that look, there are so many athletes or budding athletes, young talents, who are abundant in talent, but they don't have a lot of academic skills. How do we create a pathway for them to fulfill their own ambitions rather than always be expected to go through the academic path? And I said, yes, there's a plan for that. And really, there is a plan for that. We've been working on that. And one of the major things that we hope we'll succeed with is, by God's grace, the plan was by next session, sports is returning to the school curriculum for Lagos State. So that synergy, which helps to synchronize talent with education, and also give the ones that have exceptional talent a pathway towards potential career success is also established. So many things are going on now that are more strategy based than action based until the pandemic period is over and we can get back to sports again physically.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take you back. I know Fumemi also has a question, but I want to quickly take him back. And this is an honest question to my first question. So we have the fantastic competition. Thousands of dollars are being won, our millions of naira, but our own citizens do not have the capacity to benefit from this. Is there something specific that we can begin to do to groom the next generation of athletes who can compete not just in a marathon, but also in the Olympics, in the World Cup, and in other international competition?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I mean, that was I said at the beginning. When you asked me about the Kenyans, I said, first of all, they have the natural altitude where they train, one. Secondly, they also prepare. Once that strength was identified, what happened? They started focusing, and the nation created a policy where their strengths were worked on, and then they began to export that strength to the rest of the world. So from Kenya, from Ethiopia, you see them all over the world. Likewise, us here. But before I even go into ours, it's important that we know what our strengths are. Look at Jamaica, for example. Do you find Jamaicans running marathons? No. Do you find them running? You won't, because they know that their strength lies in sprints. So you see them dominating the sprints, the 100s, the 200s, the 4x100s. That's where their strengths are. So we also need to realize or establish what our strengths are, or what strengths we actually build on, and then we move from there. And that's why it's important that we go back to school sports. You see, school sports it still represents the earliest structured base from which we can pick talents, we can identify talents, and we can begin to groom them. But what has been happening lately is that there's been a big gap. Either the talent is recognized at the when young, where there's a big developmental gap, and the next thing you see the talent is when the talent is an adult, and there's little room for development. So one of the things we are working on is to ensure that there's a pathway, like I said earlier. If you're identified in a talent event where picked at a young age, then there should be a career path that's established for you. But career paths are also littered with events, developmental programs, and then competitions that you go progressively, where you improve and develop your talent. But most of those things don't exist today in Nigeria. So one of the challenges Lagos State has embarked upon is to create those pathways, so that at least we can start solving those problems. And as I've always said, you can't solve these problems in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. These are challenges. These are problems or challenges that need long-term, short-term, and immediate solutions. So we are working on the immediate plans, which, like I said, is to get school sports going. The second level will then be to establish enough events, like you talked about, School Olympics and the relays, to make sure that these talents are tested and then they're put in programs. For example, last year, summer, shortly after this administration started, for the first time, the Lagos State Sports Commission held a summer camp for talent for Lagos State children. And that's the way to go. It's not only sports you teach them. When you look at those other athletes in other countries, yes, they learn their sports, they are mentored and all that, but there's also a social lifestyle to learn. When they go out, how do they not get intimidated by other athletes who are holding their cutlery well, who are speaking good English, who have the right etiquette, because when you're affected in those things, how do you perform on the tracks, on the pitch? So all those things will be gradually imbibed, but there is a plan to ensure that is done for our budding athletes, and we build them towards a future that they can possibly get to.
Excellent. Moremi.
Okay. Nice. This is really interesting. I like the talent part. So basically, one thing that interests me about sports is the marketing, the merchandise around it, because it's something that a lot of developed societies have made lots of money from. So basically, I would like to know what opportunities abound. Now, with you on board on the commission, what opportunities abound for young people with regards to sports marketing, and how can we tap into those opportunities?
Well, first of all, value has to be created. I've been on the other side, like I said before. I was in the banks, I was in the oil sector, and before any investor, no matter what you're doing, will want to put his money into where you are, the person must see value. So the question is, how do we? The main question we need to answer is, how do we create value in the sports industry? First of all, is there a sports industry that's creating that value? What makes up value? The first step is the raw talent, right? And like I said before, just shortly, just a while ago, we are working on bringing them out. Then the next step is what platforms do they even showcase themselves? Now, as we create those platforms, the potential investors will see and say, okay, oh, there's something here, there's something there. Then they can invest in it. But if you don't have a structure, for example, has there ever been a calendar of events for a year of sports events for a year?
Activities, yes.
There's not. So how do you want that? Exactly. So how do you want an investor to plan how he's going to put money or to invest in you when you don't even have a calendar of events? Exactly. So it's first things first. This restructuring, this solution it will take time, but we have to do first things first. And one of the first things we have to do first is to get a policy in place that will drive that sector. Number two is to create the value. And what is value? The content for the sports industry. We are talking about competitions, events, advocacy, training, capacity development. All those things build up to create value for the industry. And in all those different facets, you find investors wanting to invest in different parts of this whole potpourri. Otherwise, you will not. You won't be creating enough for investors. They are out there to invest in. So, what we keep seeing, or what we have been seeing over the past few years, is what you go cap in hand begging, please just help us, please just help us. And out of the bottom of their hearts, some investors give you some money. But can you imagine if you can create value and say, look, this is what my plan is. I have this calendar of events for 6 months, 1 year. This is what's going to happen. And then you actually do it. When you do it the first time, then there's more investor confidence. And when they put in their money, there's a spiral effect. Because can you imagine you create an event has mushroom businesses around it, from hospitality to ticketing to transportation. It talks around. Then there's
opportunities.
Exactly, it will yield, but you need to create the value. And until that value is created, you can't get a value chain for investors to put their money into. And that's what we are working on. Basics.
Okay. I was going to ask you that, actually, that you are now at the wheel, so it's your responsibility to create the value. So you're assuring Lagosian that you are now creating the value.
Well, like I said, don't forget that the government doesn't create the value. The government creates the policy that shoots out the value. Now, we also understand that government plays a very large part in sports in this country, in fact, in any industry in this country. So we also understand that we have to play that dual role as well. In due time, the independence will take over, because that's what we were doing. With our passion in sports, understanding of what we had to do, we were creating events like the Bankers Games, like the Traders Cup, like and all that. And the whole idea was we thought that, look, if we don't create those events, we won't create value for investors to put their money in. So yes, Lagos State is working hard towards creating the foundation, to lay that sustainable foundation for a sports industry to sprout from, so that value will be created by people like me who are passionate about the industry, and then can build on that structure that the government has created to begin to do more things as well, alongside the government.
Wow.
Noemi, go ahead.
So, can you share a few pointers on the policy goals for the administration?
In sport?
I'm not sure I should right now, but I'll just share a couple.
Let me reframe the question. Okay. What is your vision of the administration when it comes to sport development? What do you want to achieve, even as a chairman? What do you want to achieve in the area of sport?
First of all, my vision is to create a viable or sustainable sports, to lay the foundations for a viable or sustainable sports industry, because clearly the foundations are weak, and the great thing is that the governor also sees that that with me, and he's committed to doing that. So, and what are these foundations? There are so many pillars to creating these foundations. Like I mentioned, school sports is a key pillar of creating that foundation, because without school sports being active, where's the pipeline of talents going to come from? How do you even identify them? You don't see them. Secondly, we have to create an environment where people with passion to create events and that passion for sports are able to put in that passion and generate an income.
An enabling environment for sport business to thrive. Creating an enabling environment. I think the chairman's internet just ceased, but I'm sure that he will come back on. So his last point was, first point was laying a foundation for a viable and sustainable sport industry. And the second point was creating an environment, enabling environment, for sport business to thrive, so that people can profitably invest in the sector and earn their profit back, for sport business to thrive and become profitable. Because that's the challenge that we have. There's so much talent, there's so much potential, there's so much sport can do, but it needs to be managed by people who understand the game of sport and the system around it. The chairman is going to come back on. I think his internet has a bit of a challenge, but I'm sure that it's refreshing to come back on. So
another thing I've actually been thinking about with regards to the sports industry, with Lagos State is I don't know, somehow, some way, the feminine gender has not been well incorporated. I'm not so.
I think that's something that we should talk about as well. I think the chairman is back. Yes. I think chairman is back.
Again, I apologize.
No, it happens. Usually I'm the one that disconnects. So I'm lucky that today it's not me.
Oh, interesting.
So you were talking about the gender angle.
Yeah, I was actually talking about the gender angle, and I wanted to know what plans are in place to encourage, female sports, and are there any mechanisms in place also to, protect their health, especially the well-being of females in the sports
athletes?
arena?
Yeah. Okay, I'm sure we can ask that when it gets back. But in the meantime, while we're waiting, Karim says that's why they need to privatize sport to attract investors. Kazim, the reality about that is that the chairman said, the enabling environment is the government's responsibility to create the opportunity for people to practice it. I don't think that government actually as a hold on the sports sector. They only regulate what happens in that sector. It's for sportpreneurs and sport businesses to do something about it and to be able to identify and bring out value themselves and get government support. But what we see in Nigeria is that all the sport professionals rely on the government to actually help them create the opportunity or to fund that. So, somebody wants to do a sport competition. In my office, I get a lot of this proposal. Oh, we want to do some sport cup for primary schools. We want to come and do sport competition. Let Subeb give us money and all of those stuff. So, Karim, your point is there's nothing that says that, people can come as sportpreneurs, create the idea, develop the concept, and just partner with the government to say, give us the right to use maybe a governor's cup or a senator's cup or whatever it is cup, and then you can take it from there. I think the chairman is back now. Mr. Chairman.
Hey, can you hear us?
Very embarrassing.
I say. No, it's okay. Usually I'm the one that gets thrown up by the internet. So today I'm lucky. I was telling you before we came on that if I go up, just continue talking.
I didn't think it would happen to me.
But it's okay. We'll never let that dampen our spirit. So, you were saying something.
Yes.
I was talking
about. Sorry, go on. I didn't remember exactly what it was again. I know I was going along a certain
We're
line.
talking about, creating
Creating an
a good
enabling
ground for
environment.
sports to
Exactly. Yes. And
for sports
yes.
Lagos State.
Okay. I was going to add something. I can't remember exactly where I stopped, but let me give an example.
Let me help you. Create an enabling environment for sport business to thrive and become profitable.
Yes. So, and in that, I want to make a reference. I've read one or two comments about people saying that government should privatize the sports industry. Government should privatize, and I ask a question. I remember in 1993 when I created my first 1993 when I created my first sports marketing company. There was nothing like an enabling environment or government privatization of sports in that manner. And I again I would challenge people. What happened in the music industry or Nollywood? Did government do anything? No. You have to exploit the gaps you see with your passion and create value. What we did then in my company then called Media Vision was we created value. We were publishing a weekly paper, a football paper. We were running the bankers games in which that time we had 18 out of 21 banks participating every year. We were in marketing. In fact, we were the ones as a sports company, as is so defined, who broadcast the first ever Lagos State gubernatorial debate, which had the bad big governor BRF in. And I know the thing, we exploited everything. That was the advent of technology. For example, we had votes coming in by SMS. And do you know that, Dayo, that on that election, I digress a bit now, but I just want to ensure that we ourselves who are in industry need to exploit our passion to create value. You know that those votes that day for the debate mirrored exactly what the electoral votes were when BRF won came into power. Yes. So we can imagine. Now here we are. We're a sports marketing company, but one of us had a passion for that kind of thing, and we work together to create that value. And since then, we've been having gubernatorial debates. But how many people remember who first started it? It was us. So what am I saying? When we created Traders Corp, where was it? Did it ever exist? No, it only existed in the recess of our minds. So if you have an idea, push. Right now, those people.
I think the chairman's network is affected again. That's the okay.
Nice one, Mr. Chairman. Your vision is cool, and I pray it works out. Definitely. I think with his experience.
I have Ambassador Yemi, who is a member of the Nigerian Student Union. You can also Team Nigeria UK says there are Nigerians in diaspora who are experienced in sport management and sport business. These individuals can also help to attract foreign investors to Lagos State and Nigeria as a whole. What are the plans of the Commission to collaborate with diaspora individuals and help an organization to help further develop our sport? I'm sure that the chairman will be open to collaborations with diaspora organizations. Just reach out. You can reach out to me as well, and we can facilitate that conversation. I'm sure that the chairman will be back. Please pardon. The internet can be really funny. I've been a victim of it many times. Interestingly, when we're going to start the show today, I said to Chairman, if for any reason I freeze online, just keep talking. It's my internet. I didn't know that it was going to be the chairman's internet that is going to have some challenge. Filippo Olabi says, how do one reach you for possible partnership with the Lagos State Sports Commission? No physical address on the website of the commission. It's very easy. The Lagos State Sports Commission is on at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Surulere. The chairman's office is also there inside the stadium in Surulere. I'm trying to get one of my friends, Mr. Gidi Ojo. He's a sport journalist. I was manager at Brida FM. I'm trying to get him to come on the show and ask the question from the chairman. I'm trying to see if I can reach him. I just WhatsApp call him in the meantime. I think the chairman just is going to come back now. this is a serious conversation because there's a lot of unemployment. And if we can actually get the sport industry working for Lagos, we can create jobs, we can get our young people equipped, we can promote peace, and we can decrease the number of crime in our society. And that's one of the reasons why sport is important. I want to ask the chairman if this internet allows us, the achievement in the last 1 year in areas of sport. But beyond the achievement, I also want to find out, for example, what they do with other mind sport, like somebody asked earlier, Scrabble, judo, handball, and all of that. It's important that we also understand what effort the government is making in that area. And the good part, like the chairman said, is that BOS is supporting a lot and is helping a lot, giving them all the support they can to ensure that they are achieving success in this area, because sport is very important. Coincidentally, the chairman and I served on the transition committee, on the sport committee, entertainment, sport, and tourism, and we were developing the sport policy for the administration. I am happy that I see all those things happening. Adebola Abbas says, "Welcome, Muremi. They're welcoming you on the show.
Thank you.
Welcome on CovInspiration."
I think being a
Excellent.
co-host of this, Dayo, has actually inspired my interest, because I used to be very nonchalant about sports. I used to be interested. So, listening to Mr. Chairman has sort of it has really inspired my interest in sports, and I've been able to understand and my horizons, sports marketing as well. It's something I'm actually very interested in.
Absolutely. I'm hoping the chairman is back. Just a bit of a network challenge. I'm hoping that we can. Okay, we have you back, Mr. Chairman.
Welcome back. Oh, you have to change your location.
Okay, no, it's going to come, but I took him off for a second. I think it's trying to move around to get to a major. Are you okay now?
Okay.
Mr.
Okay,
Chairman,
now I can hear
you
you
now?
I have to
Okay.
change location to see whether it'll be better.
Okay. I also took the liberty to bring on the show one of my friends who is a sport journalist and a sport presenter. His name is Dayo Israel. I wanted to give him an honor to ask a question in the course of the conversation.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chairman, you were speaking. Go ahead, please. We'll come back to Dayo Israel.
Okay. So as I was saying that that's important that we also look within ourselves, and that when we can you hear me?
Go ahead, please. We'll come back to yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. Yes, I was saying that. Look, it's important that we stop giving excuses. Really, I know that the industry is limited, the opportunities are limited or are few. But if we don't dig in within ourselves as sports entrepreneurs, we will not be able to create value. And I was making a reference to the music and the Nollywood industries, because you see, those guys dug deep. They didn't ask for government to privatize anything. By the time they came out with improved content, improved quality, then investors came in. You and I, who previously used to listen to foreign music, what did we do? Nobody told us before we switched now, because we started listening to music of greater quality. It reminded us of music of 70s and co, that the quality was high, and gradually Nigerians and Africans started investing in the music and the movie industry. And look at what it is today. I think it's important that the sports industry practitioners also take that same to that same line. But if we decide to remain in silos and keep complaining about what's happening around us, we will close our minds to the possibilities that still exist around us. And I've made references to what we did about 20 years ago. Industry, with the bankers' games, with Traders' Cup and all. And don't forget that even before then, I was already, like I told you, I've been organizing events since I was a child, before I was 10. And those are things that and don't forget, there's so many facets to sports, to the sports industry. There's broadcast, there's publishing, there's marketing. There's been a sports medical doctor. How about being a lawyer? He's a sports lawyer. See, all these things have to come together to create an industry. But if we develop only one part and say, okay, there's only the only two parts we really seem to involve ourselves with in the country. One is by participating as an athlete or as a player. The other part is by being a coach or a manager. Those are not the only two things in sports. In fact, when you look at the food chain, the entire food chain in sports, participation is the least of the food chain. If you were as an investor. So you find that and you see that the people or the athletes who really make it to the elite stage represents less than 1.5% of those who have the talent, because it's such a tight.
Morning, are you there? I think we lost the chairman again. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Morimi? Hello,
yes,
can you hear me?
Dayo. I'm here.
I think we lost the chairman again. We need to get him another internet.
Yes, Dayo.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of comment coming in. I have it's good. I'm sure he's going to come back. Yes. Emeka Wabudike says, Dayo, please, one area that helped sport development was the inter-house sport competition. Can you hear me? I think we lost the chairman again. We need to that help. Yes. Can you hear me? Gideojo, can you mute whatever? There's a sound. There's a sound under your side. You need to mute it. There's a sound under your side. You need to mute it. Someone is watching. Okay, I think the chairman is back.
Oh God.
Mr. Chairman, it's okay. Yeah. Excellent. We're glad to have you back. Excellent.
I feel like I'm not Schwarzenegger.
You'll be back. There's a lot of comment. Kumi said, glad to hear about the strategy to exploit this huge potential identified for sport in Lagos State in line with our strength. Kweku Johnson says, hey, Shola, good job there. Mr. Chairman, you were speaking. Please continue. Go ahead. I don't want to believe that we lost the chairman again. Okay, Moremi, are you there? Hello? I think it's not my own internet that's faulty this time. Moremi, can you hear me? Guys, if you're at home and you can see me, can you please comment? I want to be sure that it's on the side. Okay.
No.
Okay.
Okay, Moremi, can you hear me? I can't see you. Gideojo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
There's somebody watching the show on your side. They need to turn it off. The sound is echoing back.
Okay, I think
either you're playing it or something. Are you playing it on another app or something?
No, I'm watching it, and I think I'm the only one watching it here.
Okay, no, don't watch. Watch it differently. Just watch through the one we're talking from.
Okay.
Yes, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're glad to have you back. Yes, okay. Mr. Chairman, over to you.
I'm back again.
Please go ahead, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, yeah. So, like I was saying, apart from government, sorry, Morimi, you're going to say something. Yeah, so I was saying that apart from the government creating.
It's okay, Mr. Chairman. Please go ahead. Shoot, we can hear you. No, we can see you.
Okay.
We can hear you.
So yeah, I was saying that, you see. Okay, thank goodness. So I was saying that yeah, government you want government to create policies, but also we need to also push ourselves a bit for who have sacrificed a lot to invest in sports in this country. The sad part of the sacrifice is they've got nothing back in return. But to get something back, that's where policies have to kick in to create that environment where they can benefit. For example, there are facilities all over the country. The facilities in Lagos, government-owned facilities. But what are they doing? What are we doing with them? Government alone cannot produce the events that those facilities will that we utilize those facilities. But if ideas, like I referred to myself in the past and my colleagues, come up with events especially into the scope and vision of investors, then they can they have facilities for them to use. I remember when my great aunt Deji was alive and we were in government. Deji made sure that Deji told every professional football club in Lagos State that the stadiums were available for them to use free of charge. Meanwhile, before that time,
that's the situation.
Professional football clubs.
Have you also made it available for them?
So what had he done? He had opened a door.
Mr. Chairman. Okay, I think we lost him again. Remy, are you there?
Yes, Dayo, I'm here. I can imagine the challenge he's having with this network.
Yes. I think it's the internet in this country. We need to do something about it. We need to, broadband is something that we need to be able to improve to ensure that, everybody have access, fiber optic internet everywhere. It would make things better. I think, I'm not sure if Gideon Joe is still here. Yes, yes, okay, if you're there. Mr. Gideon Joe, can you hear me? Okay, let me unmute him. Or can you unmute yourself?
Okay.
Okay, I think I can hear you clearer now. No, you're still echoing. We're waiting for the chairman. Okay, Mr. Chairman, it's okay. Don't apologize. Just go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So again, I'll repeat that it's important. I'll repeat that it's important that we also look within ourselves and fight to break barriers. There are ideas to be established. I've had quite a few proposals since I got appointed, from people who want to create events, who want to use facilities, and we've said yes, come aboard. But also government can't do 100%. People come and ask for money for government to be the investors. We can't always be the investors. We have to choose where we are investors, because we have to be mindful of the role government has to play to make sure sports is established for the future in the state and the country.
Okay, quickly, let's try to achieve one or two things before our time is gone. And Mr. Chairman, I was telling you that this can go to 1 hour, and you didn't believe it. Now we're like 7 minutes to 1 hour, and we haven't scratched the surface. Now, what would you consider the achievement of the BOS administration in sport in the last 1 year? Even before you came in, some of the achievement of the Sport Commission in the last 1 year under BOS, either in policy or in programs or in action. We all know that COVID has affected a lot of implementation. But what would you consider the steps that is worth celebrating in the area of sport?
Well, first of all, I'm happy that I have a good team. I have a deputy, a director general that is also experienced and vast in sports, Mr. Tony Gafaro. Yes, he's experienced.
Yes, fantastic.
In fact, funny enough, yeah, he is a great gentleman and all. In fact, we were rivals when we were still out there in the private sector. He had his own football team, Bolewuton, and we were managing. We were running a COD United Football Club, and we became rivals. And while we became rivals, we became friends. So and now we are trying to chart the path for Lagos State. So he was in here before I joined, and one major thing he did before I joined was that summer camp. You see, the importance of a summer camp or camping children who are uniquely talented is so vital, because it gives aspiration to the ones coming. When they see that people who have talent are taken care of specially and given incentives to develop their talent, then it gives even more incentives for the ones who hitherto were hidden or hitherto didn't feel there was anything in it in sports to really double their efforts to get involved and get recognized. One. Secondly, the athletes. There was a gap in funding for not in fund in payment for Lagos State athletes caused by that came from the last administration. But prior to my advent, the commission under Mr. Tony Gafar worked very hard to ensure that gap was reduced. We still met challenges because not all was done immediately, but that was eventually taken care of. And right now, we actually don't owe athletes anything apart from the carryover of the promise made by the last administration for the 2018 performance at the National Sports Festival. Also, and very importantly, since 1973, the state had not hosted the zonal eliminations for the National Sports Festival, which we actually did this year in January, and that was very key because that gave a platform for virtually all the for 19 sports to contest and compete with their peers in the Southwest zone that enabled them qualify for that enabled them qualify for the National Sports Festival that was postponed, that shall have held in Edo. So, but like I said earlier, more of what we are doing is focusing right now, because of the break, on the actual on the policies that need to be made to ensure that we can even grow from there. For example, you asked me, you mentioned the secondary school relays and all. They were already programmed to start to commence in April. But hey, here we are today. No excuses. We will still find time to do it as soon as sports is permanently allowed back, following the flattening of the curve for the pandemic. So yeah, so those are the things those are the major things we've done. Of course, we've done the marathon, which by God's grace I was part of the first. So it wasn't anything new to me. The first marathon was held was organized by my late chairman and Oga, my friend Dayo Israel, whilst I worked with him. So the workings and fundamentals of that marathon were not strange to me at all, and so we were able to host a successful. I remember the governor ran over 10 kilometers of that marathon. You remember? So
yes.
Participation levels have still been going up despite what we are saying. Participation of the professionals has been going up, and more sponsorship money is coming in. So we hope that. But we have to replicate this event. It's not enough to just have one marathon as the marquee event, for the state, because sports, tourism, hospitality, they're all mixed together. And the more of content we create, the more value we create, the more each industry rubs off each other to derive value, economic benefits, social benefits, athletes benefits, all those things. And you find investors who can use sports as a platform to also boost their own products, or to market and sell their own products, because there's a big market out there in sports that is gradually being tapped. And we hope that what we do from here can tap into that market even more.
Mr. Chairman, I want us to take some of the questions from the viewers, and then we can wrap up there. If I take Kazim Karim question, it says, what are the plans in place to develop sport in grassroots level? I think the commissioner, I'm sure he meant you, should have a motivational speak for athletes, or maybe the honorable commissioner. They can win the marathon as well, but are they being supported?
Sport.
Or just
I can see it on the screen.
Yeah, or when tournament is few months away, that's when they call upon to start training. Are we grooming them throughout the whole year, or do we just wait for when there's something and then we start?
Okay, yeah, I saw the question earlier from Kazim Karim, also. I think that's his name. And the first thing, what's the first thing again? Sorry, I think I missed the first line again. He said about grassroots. Yeah. If he said, what are the plans in place? And I think that's one of the first things I talked about when this interview started. I talked about school sports. Grassroots sports is a very unique area. It's sensitive, it's delicate, and it's something that has to be handled with care. And because of and when you look at many other countries, developed countries, grassroots sports structure, you will find out that school sports is at the crux of it, and that's what we are reverting to. And like I said, we have gone very far. We're working in tandem with the Ministry of Education in Lagos State to ensure that sports is first of all school sports is back on the educational curriculum, because without doing that, we will not be able to integrate all the things that are needed to ensure that school sports grassroots sports can grow. For example, we've done a mapping of all the schools in Lagos State. We have identified the schools in Lagos State that have facilities, the ones that have property but no facilities and all that. We've categorized all of them. And we realized that because of the widespread nature of public schools in Lagos State, it is very easy to, well, not easy as in the process, but it is let's say it is more convenient to develop grassroots sports by integrating school sports with community development. How? Because each community has one or two public schools in them. And by utilizing the grounds and the locations of those public schools, we can start integrating communities with schools with sports, and the foundation or the fulcrum for that is school sports. Now, can you imagine if you all knew who the fastest boy in Alimosho is, or the fastest 10-year-old in Alimosho? You know what that would mean for that community that boy comes from. The small businesses that will want to associate with that young boy or that school where the boy comes from. The fact that we are hosting sports events in that boy's school and all that. So there's a spin-off effect. So what I'm saying is, to get grassroots sports working, school sports has to grow. And school sports will only grow if we can get it back to the communities and take those events to those communities to ensure there is participation and involvement and advocacy.
I think I'll just put about three up together at the same time so that we can wrap up with that. First is, I'd like to ask Chairman if there's any structured platform for mind sport. I mean, chess and Scrabble, etc. Let me see another one I can put up. Then Philip Owolabi says, how do we reach you for possible partnership with the Sport Commission? No physical address on the website of the commission. Let me find one more. Okay.
Marmy, you can probably me one by one. On each question.
I'll try.
Dayo, please, one area that helps sport development was the inter-house sport competition that helped develop young talent. Also, the Principal Cup. How can this be revived? So let's take those.
Okay. Yeah, Maury, up to you. What's the first one?
I think it was about mind chess.
Okay, let me about mind games. Let's say mind games. Chess, Scrabble. Again, I'll take us back to my friend. Another mind game that was not mentioned is, as far as I'm concerned, is a sport, is Monopoly. I remember 3 years ago or 4 years ago, we set up with Mr. Tinubu. Then we set up a Guinness World Record attempt where Lagos State actually broke the world record for the number of people playing Monopoly under one roof. But for certain technicalities, that wasn't put up on there. That wasn't accepted. So what I'm trying to say is that those kind of games we recognize, we identify, and there are plans for them already. There's something called Chess for Change that the state has been working with a company that organizes. You see, what happens is that most times you keep having just one event and then it don't happen again after 2-3 years. So we've started calling in organizers to come in Let's see what your structure is like. What are you actually planning? What are your plans in terms of media, in terms of investors, sponsorship? Because what they do is they just come and say they want to use our facilities. And
I think we lost the chairman again. So if we grab him one more time, we just should wrap up straight at that before we get into another, what's it called? So is Mr. We're waiting for Mr. Chairman to come back on. I think his internet has some challenge. Mr. Ojo, what question do you have for Mr. Chairman? Let's. What would you like to ask?
Okay.
Oh, okay. I think the chairman is
back.
Okay, hold on.
Let me wrap up. Let me wrap up that point. Now, I think one thing, what I was saying now, we address things about school sports, about grassroots, and about chess for change and all that. Now, we've seen that the structure for school sports for grassroots is not what it should be. Now we've gone across. We studied quite a few other federations across the world to see what they're doing. And one major thing that like the NCAA did in America is they put schools and sports into divisions. So you have sports that are A-class sports, B-class sports, and all that, and you focus your developmental programs based on the funding you get on each of those categories. So for schools to qualify that are in lower divisions to get to the upper divisions, there are certain criteria they have to make or competitions they have to win, blah, 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 blah. And for funding to reach certain levels, they have to qualify according to their divisions. Now, that's one of the ideas that we are working on to ensure that at every school that wants to be involved in sports can actually be involved. Don't forget, we have 5 divisions in Lagos State, and each division has a secretariat that also functions to create, to run sports events and run that area of the areas of Lagos State. So as we go along, we are categorizing, we are segmenting sports, and we are focusing according to the level of involvement and participation of each sport to ensure that they get maximum value of whatever state funds are available and sponsorships that we get. And yes, like I was trying to explain before the Wi-Fi went off, chess, Scrabble, and Monopoly are in our plans. I've met with the Scrabble, the chess and the Monopoly chairman. The only person I've not met at state level to discuss their plans is Scrabble, but I've met also with the National Scrabble Association chairman. I think it's Wellington. We chatted a few days ago, but yes, those games will be taken care of because we recognize that not all students can, or not everybody can play physical games. Then also,
absolutely. Thank you. Go ahead.
The second question.
Go ahead. Finish your thoughts.
Yeah, second question. I remember Mr. Emeka said something about inter-house sports and Principal's Cup. Yeah. If you notice, Principal's Cup hasn't held in Lagos for about 2 years now. And one thing we saw was that, that's because of we think is about sponsorship fatigue. And one of the first meetings we had when we came on board was with the reps of the sponsors, and we've been working on a different prototype. And I'm proud to say that as soon as we are sure of what the calendar of schools will be for going forward, you will find that a new and hopefully improved Principal's Cup competition and structure will be released to Lagos State. And there's an additional competition also coming in sport, in football, that I think will thrill all of us. Our sports is a basic ingredient for each school to discover their talents. But we find that there are many schools that don't even have facilities. So we are saying, look, come to the nearest Lagos State facility to your schools. Apply and give us dates for inter-house sports, and the facility managers and officers in charge will put you in a calendar to ensure that you can to have your sports. And also, one thing we are working on is to partner with schools that have facilities already and property that are developed or used. It doesn't always have to be a state facility that you use, but if you, because of logistics, if you can use a school that's closer to you, then it makes it easier under our supervision and our support to ensure that the technicalities are gotten right. So those are we are working on. So what we're working on is a cluster of facilities that schools can benefit from. So if Dayo School, for example, in Ebeda doesn't have facilities for certain sports. doesn't have the grounds for sports. So we'll cluster you with, for example, a number of schools, and we position you to run your sports programs in a certain school or schools that we've identified that has the structure, to play those sports. So you have some schools may have handball courts and all that, but they don't have the space for a full-size football pitch. You have some schools that have other facilities but don't have certain. So we are creating a cluster of facilities for schools so that they can benefit from one another, and that will also help involvement and participation by students, which will dovetail into our grassroots sports program.
Amazing work, Mr. Chairman. I have so much questions that I cannot put everything up, and we don't have enough time. So I'm going to, Moremi, what would be your final question? I think before I take Moremi, let's have Mr. Ojo. Mr. Ojo, what would be what's your question for the chairman? Then we'll take Moremi's question, and then we can wrap up. Mr. Ojo, are you still there?
I can see him, but his mic is off.
Okay, I'm trying to unmute him from my side. I don't know if it's. Can you unmute yourself from your side? Okay. I think it was because he was having an echo. That's why we muted him. Moremi, why don't you go ahead with your question?
Okay.
And hopefully, in the middle of that, we can get Mr. Joe. Moremi, don't tell me you froze as well. Okay, I think Moremi is frozen. Can you hear me? Moremi, can you hear?
Yeah.
Okay, your final question, Moremi.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, what will be your final question?
So the commission denied COVID. What are the steps the commission? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
I think it's better when you raise your mic to your yes.
Yes.
Okay, so my question is: sports in the light of COVID. What are the safety precautions and plans in place?
What are the?
Did you get my question?
I didn't hear that last part. What are the?
Yeah, I wanted to know what the safety plans are in place. Can you hear me?
Yes,
I can hear you.
Safety plan precautions in place in the light of COVID.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, we were the first major to announce a closure because we understood the gravity to sports, by which we did, and also in coming back, what we've been doing is we've regularly been sanitizing our facilities, at least the major ones, so that even the skeletal, they are not in any danger of infection from the environment. Yes, and also, but more importantly, to get sports back. If you notice, the rest of the world has been doing that. There are certain measures that are taken, and we are making our proposals as to what sports can at least start a skeletal return to activities, which will involve testing, because we can't put one or two people together when you're not sure of their status. It has to involve testing. It has to ensure an environment that is socially distant. In short, we tend to abide by all the health rules essential to make sure that the spread does happen. But the main thing is it to be controlled, and it can't be all sports. And we do this gradually and see what the effect is.
Awesome. Mr. Ojo, I think you're back. So, Mr. What is your question for the chairman? Okay. What is your question for the chairman?
Okay, I want to say good evening, sir. Mr. Chairman, let me first start by saying a very big thank you for reaching out to us, Swan.
My pleasure.
For that beautiful, I think more than native, what we so much. I know that it will be very difficult for me to say that I have a question for you. Even saying, I remember. I remember what you have always stand for. You are the one that make us to know that it be a difficult because we lack what we call planning. And I know having you as the chairman now is for us to just sit back and see what you have to offer us, because I could remember when the World Cup was hosted, that make everything possible for us to even cover that World Cup in Brazil.
Thank you. You're welcome.
And now having you I think Lagos State, we need to relax, and because you are. If I say I want to have school sport, but when I was thinking about the school sport that have been there for years, brought before the athletics sport in Lagos State, I just feel that rather than me saying that I have a question, I just want to say thank you very much, and everyone should feel relaxed that we have you in place now, and we just need to give you the necessary support. This is not the time for us to, as media, we need to think about positive things to our sport, because if you look at what is happening in the entertainment industry, you are coming from where we have a bankers league with sponsor, and everything that we always talk about is sponsorship. But I know that my 1 hour interview with you when I was in Brilla, that I brought you to the station, and you talk about us having what we call data. You talk about us having the numbers, and if sports have the numbers, it will be easier for you to have a sponsor. Because in sport before now, we see sponsorship as charity. We see it as CSR, not knowing that sponsorship is an investment. Anybody that is coming must know investing in doing, and return on investment is what in terms of sport. That is why everybody wants to run to government. Oh, if government can just support what we are doing, support, I'm not expecting money, because I program as government, Lagos State stamp on it. I should be able out there and get sponsored. But every one of us, the way we think, it is all about national cake. Let me also go there and eat my own. But to say thank you very much. I know big. What are we doing? But the plans are there. And we have started seeing them working from school sport to professional sport. I know that when we brought up Sport 249, Sport 247, we said that we want to be covering grassroots, just strictly grassroots sport. Yeah. And anytime we get into that Slim Balogun Stadium, we find ourselves in Agege Stadium, we find ourselves in Ebutemeta. There is always activity for us to cover.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you. Honorable Dayo. I know that you will find it. I don't think I can ever have a question, not now, for my chairman, because my chairman is full.
But Dayo, thank you. But let me correct something, if you don't mind.
Yes.
It's important. Nobody can sit back and relax. All hands have to be together and on deck. Nobody can relax. We can plan, but the media, the participants, the citizens have to be involved. For example, how about our health? How many people exercising every day? Even me that I'm talking, I don't exercise every day. I do 3 weeks and I'll stop for the next 1 month. But you see, all hands have to be on deck. Everybody in his own little corner must contribute his or her own expertise into the growth and development of sports in Lagos State. And to answer your sub question, Jide, when the pandemic lockdown is over, and sports is allowed back fully, we will release a calendar of events at least for the rest of the year, and by God's grace, that will be our way forward. Before the end of every year, we release calendar events for that year, at least for the first 6 months to start with, and then before the end of the 6 months, the calendar for the rest of the year, so that we can. You see, if we don't attract these investors, we're wasting our time. But to attract them, we must create content, and we are totally committed.
I think the chairman is phrasing it again, but I'm first going to be back. Hey, welcome back. We lost you again for a second.
This is not me, definitely.
Welcome back, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your insight. Thank you for all the things that you have shared with us. And we're very grateful for your service to the people of Lagos.
This was not me this time. It wasn't me.
No.
It wasn't me. You were the guys freezing. I didn't see you.
Are you sure?
It wasn't me this time. Yes.
Okay.
I was seeing both of you with your fixed faces. It wasn't me.
We are looking for a defense. Well, we've had a great time. We've spent 1 hour 30 minutes. Thank you so much for the conversation. There's a lot more we could have been saying, but time wouldn't allow us. But I'm sure that everybody, really enjoyed themselves. Yes, and people still keep coming back. It's a long-term project, but I believe we can do it as a nation. Thank you to all the viewers. Thank you to all who asked questions on all the various. We're currently broadcasting on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different platforms, and we're grateful for all of you who have been with us from the beginning and those who have joined now. Thank you so much. Muremi, your final comment before we say, why don't you say thank you on our behalf to the chairman? Oh, I think Muremi is freezing now. Okay, I think she's freezing. Her smile is freezing too now. Mr. Chairman, let me let you go. Thank you so much for your time, for your insight, for your wisdom, and we look forward to having you again on the show by the grace of the Almighty. I'm sure after COVID, we will have a lot to share.
Dayo, the pleasure and the honor are mine. It's a pleasure to serve. And again, I'm privileged that I'm speaking for myself. I have a governor who understands what sports is, what the value can be, and what the return on the investment in sports ought to be. And so to be on this platform is indeed an honor for me to serve Lagos State. And I pray that by the end of whatever tenure I have, I'll be able to look back with the governor to say this was something we did as a legacy. So Dayo, thank you for the platform. Everybody, thank you. Our offices are Teslim Balogun. You can drop your physical proposals there. And our website is under construction. So the person who saw that website is not our own, it's not live yet. So once it goes live, we will let you know through the normal means. Thank you so much and good night.
Good night, everyone. I'm going to go to my wife's specially made akara that is made for me tonight. Akara. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm on a diet. I'm avoiding starch. Yes, I need to lose the belly.
I can see that your cheeks have gone down, but it's coming up in the belly.
Yeah, it's going down my neck. No, the belly needs to come down too. So I stopped starch. I stopped rice. I stopped pounded yam and all of that. So I eat only green food. I'm serious. Yes, and I take Zobo. That's all I do.
No, I'll do moderation. I'm not stopping Jack.
No, when the belly goes down, then I start again and just make sure that I moderate everything.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman.
God bless you. Thanks.
Absolutely. God bless you all, our viewers.